Hello everyone, this is Jingnan. I'm gonna present on week 8 intimacy of gestures. Through this week's lecture, we have learned about Tinder and the selfies. So I will go a quick review of the readings first. The first reading is written by David and Cambry. It talks about limits and the possibilities of Tinder by focusing on their interface design, which builds up an image-based space, and it succeeds in simplifying users' choice into binary selection, and also the platform, while simplifying the users focus on image. And these provide users a very short-lived sense of pleasure and also ask for quick review. So it can like bring the stickiness to the platform or even sometimes the condition. And also at the last part of the article, they also talk about how the Tinder redefined the intimacy relationship in the Western world and how it creates a possibility for presumed intimacy and the tensions between the types of moments a user may experience. The second article is written by Forsch. He talks about selfie as a theoretical object from different ways. The first is indexicality, which talks selfie as an index, and I think it explores indexicality in favor of connected performance rather than semantic references. The second is about the composition and the composition. This one is more relying on the technology development, and Frost think it rewrites the relationship of the spatial position between the viewed and the viewers. It becomes the revolution, but also brings the limitations at the same time. The third is the reflection and the reflectivity. This one is more about the psychological aspect, and I will talk later in my case study. The last is about the phatic body and the kinesthetic sociability. It's about how selfies are constituted within embodied relationship and what the significance of their performance of sociability might be for our lives in media. So go to my case study. I think selfies as a product of the digital world can have different chemical reactions while it's reacting with different medias and mediations. So the principle of the film is to achieve a dynamic visual effect by playing a continuous sequence of static photos and frames at a very fast pace. Therefore, in my case study, I would see films as a further extension of selfies and talk about how they play a role there. Through this week's study, and we could note that the underlying logic between the swipe employed in Tinder and the selfies posted on the social media platforms are both examples of how technology can create new forms of social control and new forms of intimacy that mediated by screens. These mediated forms of intimacy differ from the traditional ones, and they have stronger sociality purpose by creating intensive visual impacts. The development of selfie leads to a new approach of filmmaking. Actually, the selfie style filming technique is quite often used in the documentary, but in the recent year, it started applied to the TV shows and movies. So I will pick Unfriended as my case because it's a movie like taken completely by screen recording mode from a selfie perspective, and which was very innovative at that time. And how the characters posted their selfies in social media platforms, I think it's also very interesting and related to our record reading. So basically, the story talks about a girl called Lauren who committed suicide because she was overwhelmed by online hate speech and bullying due to a humiliating YouTube video, which is taken without her permission and consciousness, and it's very humiliating. So a year after Laura's death, her friends received Facebook message from her, a dead person's account, while all her friends are in a Skype video chatting room. So the selfie style filmmaking differs from the traditional ones because the first is the physical distance between the camera. The traditional one you always have certain distance between the audience and the subjects and the characters. But in this case, we are feeling like we're sitting in front of our laptop and talking with these characters, and the shaky camera movements and the unpolished visuals also give us like a strong impression of a raw, unfiltered footage, and makes us feel like really strong immersion that we are sitting there and talking with these characters, and it's part of their life, of our life. And also in the movie, it's the ghost who are like hiding in that chat room and like witness everything. And but outside movie, it's us who's sitting in front of this our screen and watching all these happenings. So in other words, we are sitting in that ghost position and kind of part of the movie and bring a very great involvement to the audience. Also, in the Frosh article, he talks about how selfie is about to catch people's attention, the viewers' attention, and I think it's also used is also used in this film because we can easily focus on the characters, if their faces are right there, and through the mediated screens. Also, uh, it's very much about the reflection of a self, I think. As mentioned in Frosh articles, a selfie is a way for people to show themselves visually, like how they use words to describe themselves. Selfies are also show both how they're portraying themselves and how they're thinking about themselves, the imaginary self, and which can reveal how the concept of the term self can change between the image and the actual, the physical person. And according to the psychological theory, the selfie is actually how people present themselves online in their imaginative projection and mental simulations. So it's like a projection of the ideal you in the real, but like still got distance between it and the you in reality. So when the ghost Laura finally approaches to the main character Blair, which is a girl on the left, Blair kept showing Laura their selfie to beg for living, their selfie to show their intimacy because they were best friends. But actually, in fact, it was Blair who filmed and uploaded that Laura's innocent video, and she was the first person to ask her best friend to kill herself, and that's actually happened. And here is a comparison between the characters at the beginning of the film and the ending. You can see their gestures and body languages between the cam and show their internal like mental activities. First is a couple, they're showing their bodies and have some, small talks. And then at the end of the movie, they just keep moving far away from the cam and they are fearing, they are like, worrying about their own lives and keep selling others out. So reflection of their psychological activities. So this leads me to thinking that yes, there are different distance between the ideal self and the real self. So, therefore, it brings like a whole lot of problems in that movie. The bullying, the spreading, and the spreading of like the bad like the sex photos, and these this is how the ghost Laura revenge Blair by spreading her pictures with her boyfriend's best friend. So, what other uh unethical actions can these selfies cause? One is the invasion of the privacy, which means taking selfie in a place or where photograph is prohibited, or taking selfie for someone without their consent. And the second one is revenge porn is actually I just talked about, and it may also cause distress, harmful reputations, and cyberbullying. And then is the narcissism, which is receive most criticism online, especially for the young woman. They blame them for the self-obsession and the centralization of themselves as the main character of the world, and also over photoshopped pictures of themselves may cause like body shaming and body anxiety, things like that. And the next one is about the cultural insensitivity. So like taking selfie in a culturally sensitive or sacred places can be disrespectful to the culture. For example, in the East Asia, we usually don't take pictures in the temple, but here taking picture of the church is fine. So, and then the last one is impairment of social interactions. A perfect example for this one would be the selfies during the funeral. So at inappropriate times and places, it's not okay either. So here are the two questions left for you. One is, have you ever met a situation that you include strangers in your selfies? Will you cut them off or just post whenever? And do you think that's okay? And the second one is, any other unethical actions may happen while taking a selfie or post them on the social platforms? So that's it all about my presentation. Thank you.